Hey guys, welcome to part one of our new series, Into Him. And the reason that we're talking about Into Him is because this story of Moses' transition and his relationship with God has just blown my mind. I don't think I can communicate in a way that other people are going to fully grasp how much I can't fully grasp how much my mind has been blown. And what I mean by that is, when it happens to you and you get this idea in your head and you start to understand something in a way that you've never looked at it before, and you know it's going to affect the rest of your life. You know it's going to impact you in a deep way, but you're not yet sure like what that's going to look like on the outside, right? Like how your actions or your words or your relationship with somebody or with God is going to be different. But you just know it's like heavy. You're like, whoa, that was huge. I don't know what's going to happen, but that was huge. That's how I feel about this. I mean, here's the deal with Moses. Moses met God because he saw a bush burning. He walked over to him very hesitantly, almost fearful. And God said, take off your shoes. You're on holy ground. I mean, it's almost like, hey, take your shoes off before you come in this house, right? And then they have a conversation that's very kind of on the professional, technical level. Like Moses is like, so who do I tell him you are? Like, what's your name? They're just getting to know each other. And Moses even says, I don't want to do what you're asking me to do. You got the wrong guy, kind of whoever you are. And God's like, no, I got the right guy, but fine, you can take Aaron with you. Then, Moses goes through the whole 10 plagues in Egypt and delivers the people from Egypt. And they even part the Red Sea and they're in the wilderness. And then Moses goes up to meet God on Mount Sinai. Now, previously when he'd seen God, God was a fire burning on a little bush. Now God is a fire consuming the top of an entire mountain. I mean, God has become bigger to Moses, like in a massive way, like 1,000x, right? 1,000 times bigger. And when Moses meets him the first time, he keeps his distance. He's scared. It's not a friendship at all. When Moses sees God up on this mountain, it says, and where does it say? It says in verse 16 of chapter 24 of Exodus that God settled down in this consuming fire on Mount Sinai and covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, the Lord called to Moses from inside the cloud. And then it says that Moses walks inside. It says cloud, but it says that to the Israelites at the foot of the mountain, it appeared as if God was a consuming fire, right? It was a cloud of fire. And Moses gets called to from God. Hey, Moses, come in here. Moses doesn't have to ask anymore, who are you? Moses doesn't have to be told to take off his shoes. Moses doesn't stand at a distance saying, you know what, I feel comfortable having a conversation from over here. Moses walks into the fire, and it says in verse 18 of chapter 24, then Moses disappeared into the cloud as he climbed higher up the mountain. He remained there for 40 days and 40 nights. He wasn't trying to get away. It wasn't just for an afternoon, in a short conversation. There was so much intimacy. There was so much familiarity. There was so much trust that Moses knew he could walk into this cloud of fire and not only be okay, but it'd be the greatest 40 days of his life. What my hope is for us is that we can move from this relationship of separate from him or talking with him to into him, to being into this cloud of fire. I literally believe that in the spiritual realm, you might not see the fire with your physical eyes, but in the spiritual realm, we can live our lives every day literally covered and surrounded by God. And all that people see when they look in our direction is the fire of God, is the glory of God, is all that God is. This is just like when Moses would come out of the tent of meeting and his face would be glowing. So that as we start this series, my prayer for you is that we move from this relationship with God where we know of him, when we talk to him, where we question everything, where we're unsure so many times, when we go through the motions, to a relationship of such incredible intimacy that he calls us to come into himself, and we trust him so much that we'll follow him anywhere, even to the raging fire. And that what happens when we do that is that people see our lives and they don't see us, but they see his glory and his beauty. How amazing would that be? That's my prayer for you today. Thanks, guys.